This will go down in the history books for Trump. This is a suggestion via Discord. Let's go ahead and jump into this immediately, guys. See where this takes us.
Joining me now with more in this Sunday Morning Futures exclusive is National Security Advisor Michael Waltz. Michael, it's good to have you this morning. Welcome.
Thanks, Maria. Good to be with you.
Well, we've got a lot to get to. Let's first start with that meeting at the Vatican. What progress was done between President Trump and President Zelenskyy at the Vatican?
Well, Maria, let's just take a breath here and take a step back. How iconic that setting, that scene, that meeting is going to go down in the history books for President Trump to be a president of peace, to be talking peace and diplomacy in the Vatican of all places.
That's a big deal, visually.
Just before we were able to walk out and the president sat with world leaders, people of all faiths, hundreds of thousands in the crowd. And the thing he was determined to do was to talk to Zelenskyy face to face and talk about how we're going to get the largest land war in Europe to an end. Both sides have to want that. He's expressed his frustration with both sides, but yet his determination. And if you go back to, we're 100 days in, Maria, just 100 days ago, Biden and his team had no end in sight. This was an endless war. This was a
money hole
grinder of men and material and national treasure that really he had never defined victory. And President Trump is determined to use diplomacy to bring this war to an end, to talk to both sides. And just in 100 days, we've had multiple rounds led by Secretary of State Rubio, by Ambassador Steve Witkoff in Saudi Arabia, and now in the Vatican. And it was just truly special to stand there with other world leaders looking on as the President Trump led the way.
Yep.
Yeah, guys, when it comes down to this here, I'd definitely say that Trump is really good at delivering a point and getting eyes onto subjects, let's say. So specifically, this here optically was phenomenal. Like the ability to literally be inside the Vatican and then speak about the ending a gigantic war in Europe. This is an incredible thing, guys. Right? I mean, I think optically it's stunning.
Yes, another iconic shot and another iconic meeting for sure that President Trump led. Do you believe that Zelenskyy understands he's likely not going to get more land back?
No, he doesn't.
Well, there's been a number of discussions of territory, of what they need to make sure that this war never continues, that it is permanent. We've talked to our European partners, who you saw the images of both Starmer from the United Kingdom and Macron from France, that Europe has to step up. I know that you have Ambassador Whitaker, our new NATO ambassador, who's fantastic, coming on talking about how the Europeans need to take the lead in the future. All of those things are key parts of the discussion with both Zelenskyy and with Putin. And next is to drive both sides to the table, but they both have to want it. And the president has expressed his frustrations in whether both sides genuinely want to end this war, but he is determined to have the United States of America and him. I'll just say this. The current leader of NATO, who was here this week, said only President Trump could break the deadlock that we saw 100 days ago under the Biden administration, and he's done just that, starting with his call with both Putin and Zelenskyy just a few months ago.
And, of course, President Trump tweeted or posted this as well. He writes in a post yesterday, there was no reason for Putin to be shooting missiles into civilian areas, cities and towns over the last few days. It makes me think that maybe he does not want to stop the war. He's just tapping me along and has to be dealt with differently. How will the president...
Guys, okay, I've literally been sitting here waiting for a break in speech so I can kind of say something here. And I'm glad that without me even saying anything, Donald Trump is also coming to this overall same conclusion here. Obviously, he has more insight, let's say. I'm just an outside observer here, right? So when it comes down to it, guys, listen, the Ukraine, Zelenskyy specifically, he definitely wants it to end. But he's not really being as reasonable because he doesn't really understand his position here, right? Let's say I'm not trying to say this in jest here, but he's on the losing side of this here. So his demands specifically are not going to land the same way if Russia makes demands they're going to, right? Because they're obviously the overwhelming force in that region, specifically causing these things. Now, does Putin want to? Again, I'm trying to approach this with zero bias here. Right? I'm American, understand that, right? But does Putin want to? No, he wants the Ukraine. He wants it. In his mind, he's like, "That's mine. How dare you, think you have the ability to have any type of autonomy outside of what I decide for you?" That's basically, I'm thinking, that's what's happening in Putin's head right now. Zelensky, they want Crimea. No one even acknowledges that Crimea is Russia's, right? No one does. Well, there are a couple of places, but again, these are places you never want to go in the first place, generally, right? Because they're going to side with Russia no matter what, right? No matter what's happening. But it would be great if Putin actually, wanted to come to the table in a meaningful manner and actually live by his word. But based off of what we keep seeing, as the days are progressing, right, he has no interest in whatever's happening here because he's still absolutely bombarding the Ukraine, right? Ceasefire bombards the Ukraine. You get what I'm saying here, guys? So no matter what's being said, the same result is happening, basically. Zelensky definitely wants it to end, but Putin, I don't know if he's going to back out of this like this, guys. All right? But anyway.
Deal with Putin differently.
Well, you saw also in that truth, Maria, that he talked about potential action on banking, potential action on the oil and gas sector. But he's determined to use both carrots and sticks to get both sides to the table, indirect talks, talking about those items that we discussed to drive this to a permanent end with European-led security architecture.
Let me move on.
Guys, exactly what's happening with her right now in this breaking conversation is happening in my head. I mean, no disrespect, but bro,
this to a permanent end with European-led security.
See how she's trying to break in?
Let me move on because we've got a lot to cover, and I do want to get your take. You just talked about the possibility of using banking against Russia. I want to get your take on what you're willing to do regarding China. The United States obviously has taken a tough stance against communist China, and the latest provocation is China has seized the disputed reef in the South China Sea. That's on top of the propaganda, on top of the surveillance, on top of the undermining from communist China. Will you pull any financial or economic levers, including yanking stocks from U.S. exchanges that are Chinese companies that are tied to the Chinese military?
Say yes, but I mean, say
Maria,
no.
I'm not going to get ahead of our
yes,
our amazing economic team led by Secretary Bessent, Ambassador Greer, Lutnick, and others. But look, here's what the president's determined to do, and I'm looking at this from a national security standpoint. We have to bring our supply chains home. We saw even cheap items like mask gowns and gloves, if they're made abroad and not made here, become a national security issue. We have to have clean supply chains for our military equipment. Everything from manufacturing to shipbuilding, which he just had a fantastic executive order on, to critical minerals, as you mentioned, to chips, AI, quantum. If we can't have them here in the United States, which is absolutely the preference, we have to have access through our allies or even right here in our Western Hemisphere. That is a key element. Rebuilding our military under Pete Hegseth, Secretary Hegseth, focused on meritocracy and lethality is a key element. And then, of course, working with our allies, and it's no accident that President Trump had Prime Minister Modi of India, had Prime Minister Ishiba of Japan, made calls to the Prime Minister of Australia and South Korea. All of those pieces are key elements of our competition with China that President Trump knows. We have to win through our markets, and we have to win through our strong economy.
Is the Ukraine
and that's how you avoid any conflict.
Is the Ukraine rare earth minerals deal going to get done?
Oh, the Ukraine deal is going to get done. The negotiators were working hard over the weekend That is first and foremost on both Secretary Bessent and the president's mind. It's going to get done, Maria. President's determined to make it so.
Mike, let me just ask you about Pete Hegseth and the Defense Department. Can you do this in what appears to be a chaotic, weakened Defense Department? Pete Hegseth, of course, our Defense Secretary, has been threatening polygraph tests. He's been firing people who we thought were his allies. What is the state of affairs at the Defense Department right now?
Oh, there's drama going on out there, guys.
Maria, I introduced Secretary Hegseth at his hearing. I've known him for years. You know what? Let me tell you about the soldiers, sailors, Marines that every day come up to me, come up to him. We just had wounded warriors in the office with the president that say, thank God for Secretary Hegseth. Thank God for President Trump as commander-in-chief. Just 100 days ago, we were more worried about DEI and climate change nonsense. Now we're focused on lethality and winning. That's been, in just over 3 months, the change. And what we owe is the best equipment that is on time, on budget, and lethal to those soldiers and sailors. I'll tell you, a Pentagon that was chaotic was one that had a defense secretary that disappeared for 2 weeks just last year, and nobody knew about it. Pete is leading from the front. He is leading the charge, and he has no tolerance for leaking.
How's he going to replace all those people so fast?
This is a media narrative that we are going to power through. What's that?
How's he going to replace all of those people so fast?
He's a talker, guys.
Maria, there's 20,000 people in the Pentagon.
Okay.
There is a record amount of generals. And the other piece there is accountability. We have had several general officers that weren't getting the job done, and admirals get fired and get replaced, including our great new chairman, Raisin Kane, who I just talked to last night. That's what that Pentagon needs. No one ever gets fired. There's never a sense of accountability. Now there is, and whether it's leaks or not getting the job done or failures in terms of procurement, acquisition, now you have a leader that's in charge, and I couldn't be prouder of Pete Hegseth.
I know that you have talked about China being the long-term threat, but short-term, it's Iran, isn't it?
Yeah, for right now. Like, just right now.
Let's look at what the president has said.
Yeah, right,
he has
real
been
quick,
crystal
bro.
clear, no nukes, and he prefers a deal. And he prefers a Middle East that we saw in his first term getting back to the Abraham Accords. So borders secure, getting the Middle East back to peace, ending the largest land war in Europe, and competing with China in a very strong and tough way.
Absolutely.
That's what we're seeing in the first 100 days. All of that getting done, and it's been an honor to be a part of it.
Yeah.
Okay, guys. Okay. Again, looking for a breaking. He's a talker. Right, you can definitely tell he's used to being on camera, speaking consistently. Let's just say that. But he definitely delivered a couple of points here. I do definitely believe that Trump will, without a doubt, go down in the history book. Specifically, first of all, he's going to, right, no matter what here, right. But I do think that specifically based off of the overall idiom, let's say, he's definitely going to, guys. He's doing great things in this context here. If he can land all of these things successfully, then yeah. Absolutely. We definitely need, specifically, for there to be no nukes, let's say, coming out of Iran. That's just a factual statement here, because Israel is that close, and you can just imagine how that could be a thing, right? Pretty easily. Then secondly, if he is able to actually stop this kerfuffle, basically, between Russia and the Ukraine, that'll be also amazing. But again, how do you get Putin to the table in any meaningful manner, bro? And the KGB has been absolutely intriguing historically, let's say. Cloak and dagger. Like, specifically, listen, don't listen to my words, watch my actions type of thing. That's basically what that is, consistently, right? I'm not trying to pass judgment too harshly, specifically on another culture, let's say, but that's weird. All right. I mean, it's hard to do business with someone like that. Just gonna be honest. It's hard to sit down and actually believe anything that's being said, specifically if everything that you say is just cloak and dagger. Have you seen the series Chernobyl? Have you seen it? If you haven't, make sure you guys go ahead and check that out, guys. Okay, to understand why I can imagine how hard it actually is to sit here and come to the table in any meaningful manner, specifically regarding Russia and the Ukraine, specifically if every time he says, "Yeah, we're going to cease fire," and then craziness happens like immediately, like it could be within hours, guys. It could be like, yes, right? I'm not. Yes, we are absolutely going to stop all the literal madness in the Ukraine. We're going to stop it. I promise you. That's basically what it looks like, guys. It sounds like from the outside. But either way, listen, you guys all have an absolutely amazing day. Let me know in the comments what you guys think. I'll catch you guys later.